quickly than it is currently the case. So that will be very helpful. And then the home area network, and this is really the cool part, we've already talked somewhat about this, having the home energy devices, will also be on a random basis giving out programmable, controllable thermostats to some of our residential customers. And so that's a key feature, and that'll work the same way. Often it has additional features I'll talk about, but it can work the same as a home energy display. Basically, you can get the same information from the smart meter. You can see that on your thermostat. But also, we're going to be providing an e-portal, which will allow customers to go web application. They can see all their historical electric usage. They can trend it. They can see what they're using by hour. But they can also go into that through that e-portal and have settings for their thermostat. So you can program it that, say for example, if my monthly bill reaches $100, then it's in summer, I want my thermostat setting to go up 3 degrees. You can program that and it'll do it. The e-portal will communicate with the thermostat. And so you can help manage your utility usage through that. So like I said, the wonders of technology. Any questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
You know, you talked about going back to the radio, and I know maybe it's not possible, but can that radio signal ever get kind of overwhelmed? Is there a limit of bandwidth, or do we have to pay the company for this, or how does that work?
Well, we have to pay. That's part of the cost, and what we're currently negotiating with Census, the rights to use their frequency, the amount of that frequency that we can have, the bandwidth of that, all that is part of the negotiations with them.
But the infrastructure for that is this or whatever. We're not going to suddenly overwhelm this one radio tower and not have our information.
No, and we'll have multiple towers, what we call towers throughout the system. There will actually be 19 points. Initially we'll start up with 2, but if those work well, we talked about extending it system-wide in the later stages of the pilot, we'll have 19 total. So those will be in different places throughout the entire KUB electric system. But it'll all be using the Census dedicated frequency.
I guess it would stand to reason if we have these displays in these homes, at some later generation that we can generate the bill and send it electronically into that portal or into that network. Would that be reasonable?
It's certainly possible, yes. And through those home energy displays or the thermostat, we can be able to send them messages. We could send them messages, even in this pilot project. There's going to be vegetation management crews out in your neighborhood this week. There's a water main break down the road. Be alert of that. There's a rate increase coming up next week. Be on the lookout for that or something like that. But we'll be able to have that immediate communication through those devices.
Tell them to tell my kids to turn the shower on.
If you tell us, we can do that. Yeah. We'll work that into the pilot. But we talked throughout about this, but there's a lot of benefits to this. We're going to save some costs during the pilot as a result of having more, not have to have the meter readers, contractors go out into this area. We're not going to have to make as many field trips, either for our system operation folks or our meter folks. As part of that. And then we'll have also we'll have better bills. We'll have increased meter read accuracy as out of this. But really the key is the last bullet item there is the experience that we're going to gain in the next 2 to 3 years. Because, as Ms. Roach mentioned earlier, everything's going this way, and we would probably envision, a decade from now that our entire system will have these capabilities. So what we learn now, and in conjunction with UT working with their folks over there, is going to help us be able to optimize those technologies over time. And just to close out and show you, this is really sort of the timeline with our target completion dates over the next 2.5 years. Again, right now we're in the process of negotiating the contract. That'll continue probably for several more months. It does seem to be a time-consuming process. The AMI collectors, this is the infrastructure to be able to do the two-way communication in the pilot area. And that will be completed shortly. I need to complete that first. But have all the smart meters deployed in the UT Fort Sanders area by the end of April. That's the key date we're really pushing towards. And then other events, significant events will occur over the next couple of years. Want to make sure you are aware, though, it's not a 6-month project. It's going to go through the early stages of 2013. But we will consistently update the board as we make progress over the term of the pilot.
Mark, is it optional to participate? You know, we have a lot of absentee landlords and different things, and who won't be even on the premises, that sort of thing. So, not optional, you gotta do it.
For the pilot area, all the meters in there we will be replacing. Now, with respect to the home energy displays and the programmable thermostats, the home area network, that is optional. If you didn't want that, we're not going to force it. But we
And
think
it's
most
still
people.
within that area, and everything that goes within that.
Yes. What goes outside of that area is the 400 meters to the large industrial customers, and obviously the communication backbone will extend outside that area.
Mark, I want to clarify that KUB is also making an investment in this project beyond the grant.
Oh, correct. Half of it, actually more than half of it, is funded by KUB. DOE will fund half of the electric system portion of it. We also mentioned the natural gas smart meters, the water smart meters. We'll pay half of the electric plus all of the natural gas and water.
And what is the status of the Dale Avenue substation? Does it have to be up and running for this to be?
It doesn't have to be. In fact, I don't remember the timeline on the Dale Avenue substation, but our goal on the fiber optic loop is to have that completed by the end of 2011. Obviously, that will somewhat be contingent upon the completion of the Dale Avenue substation.
We're grading this month.
Preliminary site grading and work has already begun. We'll have a contractor doing more extensive grading in there within the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we should be finished within probably late next year, depending upon equipment delivery times.
Any other questions?
I'll say thank you, Mark. It's very informative, and very interesting. We look forward to seeing progress. Okay.
That's really all we have, but I think Bill has just a brief update on the tree trim policy review.
Commissioners, the tree trim policy review panel will meet this afternoon at 4 o'clock. This will be our 15th 4-hour meeting that we've participated in the last 7 months. So it is a great deal of effort by a lot of good individuals who are helping out in this effort. In addition to the meetings, a number of panel members have been asked to go out and do research or investigations, and sometimes working with our own personnel to bring back reports and recommendations on specific issues and specific topics. So all of the panel members have been putting in a lot of time and a lot of energy and effort into this process. The diversity of the panel is very, very helpful. The amount of experience and the differing viewpoints and backgrounds and interests by the panel members have contributed significantly to the level of discussion, the debates that have been held. And so a lot of information has come out, a lot of information is being shared. And I think once you get the recommendations from the panel, you'll be impressed, and you'll see how effective it has been in terms of bringing a diverse view and a wide array of recommendations to this board for consideration. The one thing that the panel has not been able to do is meet our own self-imposed deadline for reporting back to this board. The panel's initial deadline and goal was to be complete and have recommendations presented to this board at this meeting this month. Obviously, that was not achieved. The current goal is to be at next month's meeting with those recommendations, and there's a lot of work still to be done. 2 more meetings are scheduled, and more I'm sure will be scheduled as we meet tonight as well. So the effort continues. A lot of work still to be done, but I think you'll be impressed with the end result once it's made available to you. And the panel is obviously more committed at this point in time to doing it right and making sure that they're comfortable with the recommendations and the depth and breadth of those recommendations than they are meeting an artificial deadline. So we will see you with those recommendations when we see you, hopefully next month.
We are eagerly awaiting your information and presentation. Is there any other business or comments from commissioners? Questions? Any public input, questions, comments?
No.
Okay. There's a matter involving pending litigation for the board to discuss with senior staff and general counsel. Therefore, the board will convene in closed executive session immediately following adjournment of this meeting. Following the executive session, board and staff will have a lunch session that is open to the public across the hall. Mr. Cully, do we need a motion to go into executive session, or do we just adjourn the meeting?
Mr. Chairman, you can declare that.
Okay, well, I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned, and we will convene